Hello and welcome to you who has clicked the link to hear this wonderful interview and meet this beautiful soul, Dr. Bridget Cooper. And we were just having this conversation. So those of you who are tuning in, we enjoy keeping these conversations organic and real. And you're going to learn some really amazing things from this book that Dr. Bridget has written. And before I continue, Bridget, congratulations, Dr.
Thank
Bridget.
Dr. B is fine too. Yes,
Dr.
thank
B.
you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. I was just sharing with you. Congratulations on
Thank
the
you.
success of completing this book and having the discipline and the courage to write it. I know what it takes to complete a project such
Yeah.
as this. And I really appreciate you showing up for humanity in this way and showing up for people who struggle with overthinking. And so, what are we talking about? Unflappable is the name of Dr. B's new book. And it's how smart people quit overthinking, ditch the drama, and thrive at work. And so, I mean, how fascinating and how amazing is that title?
Thank
Who
you.
is not interested in learning these
Right.
things and how to ditch the drama? So,
Yeah.
Dr. B, tell us a little bit about you. What it is that you do, who specifically it is that you work for, and excuse me, work with, and then we'll talk about your book.
Absolutely. Yeah. So thank you so much for having me. It's always such a delight. We've been on camera a few times in the past, never in this space. So I'm so pleased to be your guest and to talk about Unflappable. So I call myself Dr. B. I call myself a cage rattler. That moniker is around me wanting to wake people up to the patterns that may be derailing their success or their joy in their lives and their work, and helping people understand how other people work, including the other people being themselves, so that they can figure out how to communicate more effectively, more peacefully, and more authentically and also effectively. So I really do a lot of work with companies and individuals, whether it be coaching, strategic planning, or support initiatives that help people, again, communicate better, drive toward their goals easier, and resolve conflict more swiftly.
Yeah, thank you for that work.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's, in my opinion, some of the most important work that can ever be done is understanding yourself,
Yeah.
understanding the patterns.
Yeah.
Why is it that we do or say certain things over and over again? And why are we experiencing the same outcome
Mm-hmm.
from the same level of consciousness, right? What Albert Einstein says, we can't solve something from the same level of consciousness that created it. So your work is so valuable. I enjoy everything about what you share and what you bring to the table in terms of the work that you're doing. It's courageous, and thank you for doing it.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, such a pleasure. Thank you. So
You're
sweet of you to say.
welcome. So, and it's also not very businesslike,
Right. Yeah, it's
right?
funny. Yeah, it's funny because the book, like, so this is my seventh book. And this is what is being come to know with my clients. They're calling it my greatest hits, because it's really this toolkit of mechanisms and frameworks and tactics and tools that I've been using with clients for the last 20 plus years, all in one place, easy to access, index and back, the whole 9 yards. And you and I both know, working with people, whether in a professional setting or in a personal setting, that people carry themselves wherever they go. So there's so many techniques in here that, and my clients have used them for personal and professional reasons, and they have similar success because, and we know, I mean, when you're miserable at home, guess what? You're going to be miserable at work. You might try to escape home by diving into work better, but you're still going to carry some of that weight and ugliness and sadness with you. And the same thing goes for at work. There's only so much decompressing you can do on the drive home or the walk from one room to the other if you're working
Mm-hmm.
from
Yeah.
home, to not bring that into your personal relationship. So Unflappable is designed for a professional application with personal results up, beyond the
Fantastic.
book. Yeah. So I'm really
Fantastic.
excited about that.
It's like it seems as though it's a roadmap, if you will, for, I use two analogies when I'm coaching individuals and teams. And that is, we can either be the bull without a nose ring,
Right.
who just kind of wanders where it wants to wander, eat what it wants to eat, lay in the sun, lay underneath the tree, or we can be the bull with the nose ring. And that's dragged around, that we're being dragged around not only by other people's expectations, but really our own emotions
Yeah.
and our own inability to stop the overthinking.
Right.
And so, and the other analogy is we can either be the if you ever drive by a car dealership and they have these big blow up dolls that are just kind
Yeah.
of like
The wind
waving,
socks.
right,
Yeah.
the wind, there you go. And we can either be the actual windsock, or we could be the wind.
Right.
And so it seems as though it'd be a great playbook, or a great tools in 20 plus years that you've learned,
Yeah.
applied, practice, that have, I'm sure personally, for
Yeah,
yourself, but
personally, and
also,
my
right?
clients. Like, I have clients who've attended some of the workshops I've been giving over the last week or so since this came out, and they're picking their favorites. Like, oh, I love this one. You have to grab this one. You have to look at this one, which is one of the reasons I put the index in the back, because I knew some of my clients would be directing their colleagues and friends and family members to certain tools that have really benefited them, that have been game changers for how they think about things. And I love the analogies you use, because I think those are so, they do help us. I love analogies. I love metaphor. And it helps us to kind of see it more clearly, because sometimes we just get, again, overthinking in our own heads, and we validate certain patterns, and we get locked into these brain patterns that bring us back to the same conclusion over and over again. And the question I ask, and I might start asking yours, you can start asking mine, is, would you rather be, when I look at the animal kingdom,
Mm-hmm.
I think of two animals that stand in sharp juxtaposition to one another. And which would you rather be? Would you rather be the lion or the squirrel?
Mm-hmm.
And so often we are running through our lives like a squirrel, darting back and forth, not thinking through the next movement, overwhelmed at everything that's coming at us, just, again, working through this world in this anxious kind of, just not thoughtful, not intentional way. And if we could be lions, if we could really, when am I going to get up? What is my effort? How do I want to proceed with that? I'm just going to lay here for a moment. It's not about being lazy. It's about being intentional. It's about having what it is that you're thinking, feeling, and deciding to do be so aligned with who you are, what you're good at, what you want on the other end of that, that there isn't this haphazard, chaotic, ineffective sort of delivery of your very, very narrow band of energy that we all have.
Great
Yeah.
point. Yeah, I'd rather be the lion. I aim for the
Yeah.
lion every day. Stretch when I want to stretch. Yeah.
Yeah. Every now and then I do a workshop, and someone's like, squirrel. I'm like, all right, pipe down, pipe down. Yeah, I know. For a minute, it's going to be fun until you're under somebody's wheel, and then we're going to have a different conversation somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, for
Great
sure.
point. So, okay. What does thriving at work mean to you? What does that look like?
Oh, so I have what I believe, um, I have what I believe unflappable is. And I know what overthinking is. And I also know what ditch the drama is. But it's funny because thrive at work is the only one I don't have a definition for. And the reason for that is because it means different things to different people. Some people, if they're looking at climbing the corporate ladder, right? So thriving at work for them means getting out of their own way, being able to see the path in front of them, being more confident and clear, being able to hold on to their temper or their tongue in ways that makes them a more effective leader, so that they can move through all of those gateways to get to that position or placement that they want. And for others, it's peace at work. It's being able to go in and not have it add to their stress. It's being able to go in and not be emotionally connected to whatever someone else might do or say to them, so that they can focus on the work that they're doing and what's important to them. So it means different things, I think, to different people, depending on where they are and what that internal compass is and motivation is. But I look at what is stopping them from doing whatever that thriving means to them. And what this book and the tools in it do is clear up some of that kind of fuzziness around what's happening, because I drive toward clarity. It is like it's a spiritual quest for me to bring and hold clarity about things, not about being right, especially not out the gate, but gathering enough information, be able to look at things objectively enough to be able to see a number of sides to pieces so that I can see a whole picture and be able to craft a direction from that and give that to other people. And so this book is designed to offer people clarity where there is fog around where they are in whatever it is that's causing them stress or conflict, where other people are, what they can do and what they cannot do, where they must accept and where they must let go, and how to navigate that in real, practical, easy terms. Like every one of these tools, maybe 2 pages long, a couple of them might be 3, but most of them are like 1, 2, or 3 pages long, because I wanted these to be so easy to absorb and get that you could just go and just see yourself in it and practice doing it as soon as you close the book.
Fantastic. That's a great, well, consistently practicing is what's going to move you from where you are to where you want to be, whether that's more peace or however the person is defining thriving at work.
Right.
Would you be willing and open to sharing a practice or a technique today with the audience that might help them have more clarity, or whatever you're feeling in your heart that you would like to share today?
Absolutely. So I was actually asked, I did my book launch last week, and people asked me what my favorite tool was. And I was like, that's like picking my favorite like child or pet.
Yeah.
Even food, I can't even pick that. So I have a few, but my last meal would have like a lot of things on that buffet line. I, I think there are so many, but I'm gonna focus in, because right now what we started talking about before we were on air for recording, we were talking about kind of the stress in the international space, right? This sense. I was just reading something this morning. I think it's in the Wall Street Journal, but it was talking about the fact that we, Americans and world community members, but Americans are disillusioned with structures of all kinds, right? Corporations, governments, churches. Like there's this pushing against all of what's happening, right? And so what ends up happening is we look at those bigger problems, we get disillusioned, and then we stop. There's this like, it's too much. So there's just this pause that we do. Like, I feel powerless to do all of that. So I don't know what to do, right? And so I guess it's a super basic one. It's one of the the places I start in, but I feel like it's important to look at. Is I talk about control buckets. So, I'm a recovering codependent, control freak, like the whole, like all the monikers, right? Of trying to get other people and other situations and things beyond myself to bend to my will and intention, because I saw what was best for someone, or I thought I knew something. And it took an incredible amount of my energy to do that with very little result, because I was never really in the driver's seat in that experience. And so to understand where control buckets come in, you got to define stress. So my first chapter in this book is stress, and stress busters. And I talk about the fact that stress is a simple mathematical equation. It's the difference between what you want to control and what you can actually control. So if you are seeking to control the person in front of you who's driving at a slower speed and you're trying to get to a meeting, you're going to feel stressed because you can't do that, right? If you're trying to, you're stressed about someone who hasn't gotten a deliverable back to you by the deadline, and now you're going to be burning the midnight oil, and you're really upset about that and harboring those thoughts about, I can't believe they would do that. Oh my gosh, that was terrible. And you're feeling the stress. It's because you don't have control to a great extent for what they did and how that affects you. And so when I look at reducing stress, it translates into how do we understand our control buckets. And so there are three buckets that we have to put all of the things in our world in, and they shift sometimes over time. But the three buckets are, for bucket number one is what can I control? Bucket number two is what can I influence? And bucket three is things I cannot control at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can't control the stock market. I mean, you can look at some of these bigger picture things, and I can like put a little drop in the bucket for some practice that I do as a person, because collective action brings collective results. Okay, I might listen to you there, but effectively not in your control, right? Real hard to influence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So bucket number three needs to just take a dive, because when you focus there, it is squandering your efforts, because it is the actions of others, the weather pattern, the whatever that is, right? But the first two buckets are really super helpful to examine. The first one is what can you control? And I get some pushback sometimes on this one, because I define what you can control as what you think, how you feel, and how you behave. Now, a lot of people will push back to me on the feel one, because they're like, but I can't help how I feel. I feel how I feel. I need to acknowledge my feelings. I absolutely agree. The challenge is that neuroscience tells us that how we feel is based in the thought patterns that validate the feelings behind the thoughts behind. So we're thinking a thing without even maybe being aware that we're thinking a thing. We have a worldview, we have a model of what's happening. And through that filtration process, through that mental model process, is what gives rise in our bodies to how we're going to feel about something. So if we've had trauma, we're going to feel in a traumatically triggered way when we get certain input, because we've created a mental model around that traumatic experience or series of experiences that does that. So it's not that we can necessarily control the emotion that we're having in the moment, but we can dial it down, and we can shorten its duration, right? By paying attention to what we're thinking about and what we're doing to reinforce and validate the emotion to stay or to go, right? To let it move through us.
100%.
I'm preaching to the choir, yeah. And so if we can then look at what is the origin behind the things that we're thinking that may be creating some of those really repetitive, unhelpful emotions. I don't mean unpleasant, because we got to feel unpleasant things because we're human, but unhelpful things that don't move us towards something, that don't compel us to do something with them. Then we need to look at those thoughts to be able to reshape that. And then there follows our behavior choices. So those are the things that we can be in control of. And when we are in control of those to the greatest extent that we are capable, that's when we can influence others. That's when people listen to us. That's how we can shape potentially how people are in communion with us, how people are in relationship to us, how people work with us, how we set boundaries, how we do all of these things, because we are, in fact, holding space as a lion and not a squirrel. Because squirrels don't have that control, at least not from what I've been seeing.
Yeah.
So they're not as influential, right? Lions, on the other hand, energetically are, because you trust that they are going to make intentional, impactful decisions and experiences in front of you. So that's my
well said.
two-part
said.
I
give you a standing ovation. And preach. Please keep preaching.
Which is I'm gonna love here? And I'm like,
no, I preach. Please keep it coming. People hear things one time, two times, even three times. It's still just for information. And I have a very educated audience, and I have a new audience. I don't know where their level of consciousness is, or what their level of information that they're taking in is. I have no idea. And so the more we hear something, the likelihood that there is for transformation.
Oh, absolutely. And right? And simple things like how you use those analogies of being able to hear that, because we can see ourselves in that simplicity. And when we think about a thing like a control bucket, if I have a bucket that holds a gallon of energy, let's say that's what I have for the day. I have a gallon of energy, and I put a half gallon in the things I can't control, and I put another third of a gallon into the things that I can influence, but I haven't put anything into what I can control.
Yeah.
I didn't do math, but whatever that little piece is that's left is not going to help me influence anything after it. My energy has to go from energy bucket into my control bucket. Anything left over, great. Let me influence. Great. That's perfect. But it's about where are you going to put your energy? Where's the payoff? And it certainly isn't in those second two buckets if you
So
haven't
true.
hit the first one. Yeah.
That's so true. Thank you for sharing that with us. I really appreciate that. And I love the analogy as well, the buckets. It really is, we're energetic beings.
Yeah.
And I know that this is more mainstream now. It's getting, which I love the fact that people are really starting to talk this language.
Right.
But we are pure energy, more so than the physical suit that we are residing in, that's containing our energy being, our human energy field, our aura. And we're either giving energy, receiving energy, or leaking energy.
Right.
And the other two buckets, you're leaking the energy. But when you put your focus into these areas that you can have, that you do have control over,
Yeah.
which are the thoughts, the feelings, and what was the third one?
Behaviors.
Behaviors, of course. Right, because that's true. That's the formula, right? It's the
That's
thoughts
it.
that first we have our thoughts that create our emotions, which create our behavior, which creates our actions, which creates the outcome. And
Right.
so really appreciate that. And it's true. And a lot of people, when you're first starting out in transforming or healing yourself or learning about yourself, it's so foreign. It feels
Yeah.
so unfamiliar and awkward at times. But when you remain in this vein, when you continue to practice what you are learning, the steps and the practices from your book, Unflappable, guys, Unflappable, How Smart People Are Quit Overthinking, Ditch the Drama, and Thrive at Work. Please find yourself a copy. We're going to get to where you can do so in just a minute here. But when you do this for yourself, when you practice consistently, you are able to change your environment, your life, your outcomes and circumstances. And so the
Yeah.
invitation is from today's interview, from our call, to please begin to do so. And you can do it by grabbing the book that Dr. Bridget just launched last week. In fact, where is it? Where can people find your book?
So if they want to pop over to my website at drbridgetcooper.com. They can find links to other bonus materials that I couldn't fit in the book. So that's fun and helpful. I promise I won't bombard you with way too much, spam. I don't have the time to do all the newsletter stuff. So you'll get a little bit of dribs and drabs from me, but you'll be able to download that bonus content. And there's a button right on that front page as well to order the book on Amazon. If you happen to be over at Amazon, you didn't pop over to my page, you can do it that way as well. Just look up Unflappable and you'll find a kid's book that isn't mine, and then you'll find mine. So you can check that out. And and I would love to hear from you. I would love a review on Amazon as well, just to let me know how you're finding it. And if you have any questions, I would love to answer them. I'm here to put the work into the world to help people be the best version of themselves.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you again for doing the work. It's some of the most important work
you.
out there, that inner engineering, if you will.
Yeah.
So on a fun note, before we go,
Yeah.
in this moment,
Yeah.
what would be your favorite food?
Oh my goodness. That would, I mean, this time of year, I'm gonna have to go with an apple fritter. Probably the worst thing for me. It's covered in sugar, all sorts of gross, disgusting things. But I'm telling you, with that and like a cup of apple cider or a chai latte, I am like, it's good.
That's
It's
happening in the moment.
yeah, it's real good. The real bad isn't that what it is though? Real bad equals real good. So yeah. How
Awesome.
about you?
Thank
Will you
you.
share one with me?
Yeah, this time of year, it's actually hot chocolate.
Yeah,
It's almost automatic. I start getting the cravings for hot chocolate.
it's so interesting. Yeah, with
It's,
the little marshmallows on top. Do you ever do
yeah.
that? Yeah.
Well, actually, the vegan fluff that you
Oh,
can find in the freezer, it's delicious.
love that. I'm gonna have
It's
to try that because I
delicious.
haven't had fluff since my fluffernutter sandwich days, way back, way back.
So it's not just the hot chocolate. It's the hot
Yeah,
chocolate with the fluff.
I'm gonna
Wonderful. And
say
any
reserving that for the hot chocolate. We're gonna need to talk about your menu items because there's more variation you could find.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen, I really appreciate you making the time to join
Thank
me
you.
today. I
Yeah.
appreciate your wisdom, all the practicing that you've done over the years on yourself to be able to be the expert that you are, and the education that you've had. to be the expert that you are, to be able to share and teach others and coach others.
Right back at you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I love sharing the lifting with you. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, me too.
So if you, those of you who have joined us, if you like today's subject matter, if you loved the interview, please find Dr. Bridget Cooper. Please find her book. In fact, do you have the book with you to hold it up? Please. There it is. Lovely cover. You did a fantastic job. Yep.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love the insides. It's got like so easy to read, so easy to
Perfect.
navigate. Yeah, fun.
Thank you. And
Thank
if
you.
you do like this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with others that you feel would be beneficial, or that they would benefit from the information today. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Bridget. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Sam.
I'm going to end the recording, and that's going to be part of the interview too. Hold on one second, because everyone knows that I like to keep things real.